For all your hemp wellness needs, information, products, parties, and merch, visit thebudplug.com. Promote your brand here at Viral Hip Hop News. Email me, Sam Ant at thehiphopnews.com. No, wait, let's go.
Mm. Absolutely. What do you think that this censorship sets the precedent for? I think it's going to make more people scared to actually speak out because they took
It's already been set by the National Socialist Workers Party. You know what the acronym for them was?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Nazi. Nazi is the German acronym for National Socialist Workers Party. And we saw where that went. And I had a Russian professor back in the 60s at UCLA I was teaching assistant for. And she used to say, America is in, comrade, America is in grave danger of becoming a fascist state. She used to say it wouldn't be any jackboot wearing, goose stepping, uniformed political thugs. It would be some long haired, pink panty wearing, switching beatniks, as she called them. And they would be doing it in the name of doing you a favor. See, when you have people that have had 50 years worth of running the entertainment and news industry or taking control of it and spreading propaganda, there's this thing that the Nazis knew, which was called tell a lie long enough and loud enough, you can get anybody to believe it. And they've been telling it for 50 years and insidiously interjecting a point of view into the mix so that they flip the script. What they're guilty of, they accuse and get other folk to believe they're guilty of. They get the target to thinking in the terms that they want you to think. And that's one where I get a lot of young folk your age upset when I get on this N word. Every clinical psychologist I know that I've talked to says that you don't make that N word harmless by saying it or adopting it. Your subconscious knows what it means. So every time you use it, it secretly chips away at your own self-esteem. And plus, that is the work of the enemy. You don't think that they would not have cut off the funding 45 years ago, 40 years ago, 35, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5 years ago from funding this stuff if they didn't want it to be heard. They want us to think of ourselves as ends. And by the way, that end of the 60s was a dead word, but not quite dead. You had, well, I used to run the public defender's office in Memphis, and back in the mid 70s, I had all these white employees who were afraid to go out and talk to black defendants and witnesses. And I'd go out. I was from Los Angeles, but I was in Memphis, got sent here on a fellowship. I'm going in the kitchen in the projects. And there's girls 13, 15, 19, and the 19-year-old is the client. And every one of the girls from 13 to 19 has children. And you got 10 or 12 little kids with snot dried all over their faces and food all over the front, crap on their behinds. They haven't had it washed in 2 weeks and they stink like hell. And the mama's going, little hen, bring me my cigarettes, you little fool, little pickaninny, blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah, girl, he ain't nothing but no hen dog, just like his no good daddy. Yeah, girl, he ain't worth, you know. And you see, that was, let's say, 1976. Okay, 77. Well, let's fast forward 1987. That 7-year-old is now 17, going on 18. Let's fast forward from 87 to 1997. Hey, now 27 going on 28. Let's go to 2006. He's 37. 2017, he's 47. He's 50-year-old man now. But what is going on is his mama, who was 15, 16, 17, 19 at the time, now is grandmama, great grandmama, great great grandmama, great 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 grandmama, etc., with 6 generations, and she ain't even hit 60 years, 65 years old, 70 years old. And she's running around acting a damn fool, still evil. And we have all these young brothers who have been raised by being called the N-word and dogs. And like one young brother explained to me, this has been almost 30 years ago. I used to run these counseling sessions. He told his mama he was never coming back home because he wanted to grow up to be a man. And he starts saying, Judge is right. You start calling all us dogs. Why you think we call you bitches? Because if you've been screwing all these dogs, you either in the deep end of what you say, Judge, bestiality, or you a lady dog, which makes you a bitch. So you called it, and you ain't gonna punk me out any damn more. I want to go up to be a man. And all of you and your friend girls up in here are like that, except you, Miss Jackson. I ain't never heard you do this, but ever since I can remember, you've been down in me. And like, me ain't nothing but no dogs, honey. Like, what do you think I'm supposed to grow up to be, a punk? You talking about I'm gonna be no good and all this when I grow up? Like, you putting all this poison in my head. What's the matter with you? So that goes on. And I ran into that kid again, but now it's almost 30 years later. He got grandkids. He's 45 years old, and he got all this gray beard. And I just dude walks up to me and said, Judge, you remember me? I said, no. I said, usually folk come up and say, did I give you some time? And I say, did I give you enough? She said, no. I was the one, if you remember, I walked out of that meeting, told my mama I wasn't going to be home when she got there because I wanted to be. Yeah, you the one talked about the bitch thing and the dog thing. Yeah. He said, I want to thank you for that. He said, I'm married now. Didn't have any outside babies, and I always work, and I try to teach my kids. Well, hell, my kids are doing fine. All of them in school. And I got 10, 15 boys around the neighborhood. I'm trying to teach what you taught me. I said, okay, yeah, that works. That works real well. See, but we have to take something back. See, there was a coalition back in the late mid-60s. It was lesbians that hated men, feminists that hated that they weren't men, beta boys that hated that they weren't strong men, gay boys hated they weren't normal men. And then you got some people talking about war was a man thing and they hated war. So they were running around, hey, man, you know, like, we got to change, man. Like, war, man, is evil. You got to make love, not war, man. And you know, we need to change the way we raise our boys so they get raised like girls, so they emote, cry, let it all hang out instead of trying to be so uptight and under self-control, man. You know, so there won't be any more war. So no war toys, no cap guns, no water pistols, unisex child rearing, unisex child hairstyles. The girls that were black start putting braids in their boys' hair instead of dreads, and the white boys, they started wearing long curled hair with pigtails in it, and the girls started getting butch haircuts, and the boys were playing with what's the male Barbie thing they got, and playing with Barbie and G.I. Joe and dolls and all this other crap. It just got out of hand. So it's led down the rabbit hole. And some of the things I hear, I'd never heard before, but I've heard them develop. And I said, man, I took propaganda for a year at UCLA, 3 classes worth. We were on a quarter system. And I said, man, they ran this game tough. And see, I know how to run it the other way. My brother, Grandmaster Ken Decker, Clifford Stewart, and another brother, Grandmaster of Martial Arts, Ron Chappelle, Dr. Chappelle now, and myself, we used to run Trinity Avenue Elementary School playground in the LA City school system. Now, we put in place some stuff, so we take 200 kids from first grade to the 7th grade to the movie every Wednesday downtown LA. It was just the three of us. We were young men in charge. We didn't have any noise or unruly children. It just didn't happen. But we started teaching them stuff. And, well, okay, two other kids we had on the playground you probably or may have heard of. One of them was a skinny little 12-year-old kid who wound up getting a real deep voice. And the world knows him as the singer Barry White. Now, we talked to his mama a lot. She went with the program and she let him get out of the swamp. Well, let us help get him out the swamp. The other person was the last individual executed on California's death row who seems to have co-founded the Crips. And he was a 14-year-old volunteer we had on the playground, but his mama wanted the check, wouldn't let him get out the swamp. So he just became the baddest ass alligator in the swamp. His name was Tookie Williams. So he wrote 6 children's books, and the punk ass California governor should have had the balls to have commuted his sentence to life. And in those books, he was trying to teach the children what we taught him. So this thing that you can do in terms of raising a fad, it's a science to doing that. 55 years ago, you could make something a fad in America with the communications they had then in just 6 weeks. Now you can do it in a matter of a week if you push it. So we have to push things to become popular and fads that are functional. Stuff like countering this thing about what is a toxic masculinity. Hell, I remember back 55 years ago when this crowd I talked about a little while ago was trying to corrupt masculinity. They started talking about, we must spread the word that masculinity is toxic, start off one thing at a time. Now people accept that as a valid word. It's not. And the other one is, homophobic. Homophobic isn't even 10 years old. And the word that was in the dictionary for centuries was heterophobic, which means the real terror of somebody gay, that somebody straight would hang him, burn him at the stake, castrate him, throw him in jail, ostracize him, embarrass him, fire him. They had that. So that's part of the propaganda process of you flip the script, turn it around so it goes to the other side. This thing about fear. It used to be, for example, the Democratic Party defended the Bill of Rights. You could always count on them, and the law and order guys that were on the far right, they would be trying to suppress certain things that are now perceived as criminal rights so that the wrong could be put in jail. And now you've got the left attacking the Bill of Rights and the right defending it, left trying to disturb freedom of speech, right to remain silent, search and seizure. And you can see it with what they did with Mr. Cosby, Dr. Cosby, and that conviction got very properly reversed for an egregious violation of the Fifth Amendment. So, I mean, what the hell? Nobody gives a damn about what the law says. And right now, we don't even have 10%, 15% of the Congress being trained lawyers when it used to be 85, 90% were. It's even lower in the state legislative bodies. And a lot of people, well, even judges and lawyers nowadays, only 25% have ever read the Constitution. Constitution isn't but 10, 12 pages long in a pamphlet. It's a lot shorter than what you have to read to pass your driving test, or at least a written test to get your driver's license. So people need to understand what that says. Now, we get stuck on stupid. Excuse the judge for pontificating. I guess that's kind of what I did for a long time.
Nah, no.